Good afternoon, everybody. What's up, man? Welcome in, folks, to the PWTorch Fireside Chat, the flagship edition of the show for Thursday, November 17th, 2022. How's it going? I'm PWTorch Assistant Editor Zach Haydor, and I promised a new intro weeks ago. I have yet to deliver. I have it, and I just need to upload it next week. Hold me to it. Somebody ping me on Twitter. Hold me to this new intro for next week. It's great. A fan put it together, and it's awesome. Tyler, shame on me, but it's good to see you, man. What's going on?
Good to see you too. Very excited to talk today. Obviously, as always, very AEW focused, which I love to muse about. We just had a Tony Khan presser that I think we could quantify as being. You should be thankful as a fan that there are places that kind of give you the minutes on those, because it was kind of lackluster from a newsworthy standpoint. But I think that's positive for Tony Khan in AEW to not be having the most newsworthy stuff happen out of the ring. So a positive.
Yeah, boy, you're not kidding. He needs a flawless weekend, because Double or Nothing, it was like the MJF stuff, and then All Out. Obviously, we know what happened there, and so Full Gear, I think he's looking for, can we just have a smooth show? And it's kind of like, I feel like the build and the card itself, and we'll preview a lot of it here, guys. And hello to everybody in the chat. Steven is on, Dr. Ross, Zach, what's up? Good afternoon. Steve, what's going on? Thanks for being here, guys. Sean, thanks for joining. The card kind of feels that way to me in some ways, where I think the build across the board has been okay in spots, missed in spots, but generally has been pretty safe, pretty straightforward in terms of what they did, not from a booking perspective. And I wonder if this is hey, we just got to get a good show out there. Let's deliver in the ring. Let's do what we do as AEW of the brand, and try to get past the craziness of this summer and start anew. And I think you can look up and down the card and kind of see spots where that may fit in. I think you can make the argument then it's been flat, in terms of build, but maybe safe at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you agreed with me, and I think that too. Safe is the word here, and I think it's been differently structured, as we saw last night's Dynamite. Right, they've never, in my mind, as on a go home show. It's never felt more go home for AEW. Typically, it's been here's some matches of people that didn't make the card, and we'll show you a little video promo maybe to get the main event. But this. The show feels very top heavy, I think, for good reason, and a good different strategy where you have MJF, Mox, obviously number one, and then it feels like with the amount of time given, Saraya and Britt Baker would be a number two with the tag team titles right there below it as well from a TV time given. And then you have a lot of other tertiary, Sting and their match and Jungle Boy and his match, etc. So, but more focused at the top as opposed to hey, here's 10 awesome matches that you're going to love. Here's
right.
2 stories we attempted to tell. We'll talk about the validity of those stories, I think, and they're still yet to be, determined how good that story was told based on the outcome of some of these matches. But a different strategy, and I think for me, a good change of pace. At least they're giving it a shot, and I think that's a good thing there. But as anyone that watched my preview episode yesterday, 11 matches is par for the course with AEW pay-per-views. I think if we had one that was 9. If Double or Nothing 2023 had 9 matches, I think I would give them some artificial praise, real praise, but artificially inflated praise for having such a narrow and focused card. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, if it goes from 11 to 9, that's positive in my eyes. 9 is still insanely long. I mean, 11 matches. I mean, Jesus. I guess look, on some level you go, hey, okay, he's trying to give the biggest bang for your buck, but the biggest bang for my dollar would be, an extra hour back of the night. So,
at least a Saturday, not a Sunday. So
Yes, true. I mean, that's a thing. That's important.
As Mox was not super confident.
Yes, he's not sure what day the show is.
It was amazing.
Oh gosh. So let's just, I don't know, man. Let's just start at the top of the card. I think because like you, I give AEW Tony Khan credit, for having like a true go home segment to the biggest match on your pay-per-view, main event, your weekly television show, like we don't always see that. Sometimes like I don't want to say every time, but like a lot of times, they really lean heavily on the video packages. That's good, in a certain sense, but you do want to have that last kind of the last chance for like the two guys to get in the ring and talk people into the building or / buying the pay-per-view. And so we haven't seen that. I think you're just really like on point to call that out. My issue was, and it wasn't an issue because again, I thumbs up for the attempt. I guess I just thought it was a bit of a weak attempt. I liked Jon Moxley's promo quite a bit. I thought he did a really nice job of being Jon Moxley. I like that him answering the question of who's Jon Moxley and getting and drilling it down from that point to like, well, I'm this guy who's going to fight. I like pain. I've got problems. I got like big problems. I thought that was just on point Jon Moxley stuff. So it's getting like an A from me up and like till the end of when he's talking. And then it kind of fell off a cliff because it was like we had the Firm come out and they just, to me, they're just an act right now that just throws cold water on anything they're around because they're so undefined. It's so like randomly and hastily put together. It's really not a coherent story between MJF and them. And so you played that card where they run out and then MJF runs out and makes the save. This isn't about the Firm, or it shouldn't be anyway. Like it's about MJF and it's about Jon Moxley. And so to me, the better way to do that would have been just skip all that Firm stuff, have MJF come out, and almost do the exact same thing. But I thought the Firm's involvement really just kind of took it in a different direction. I think the audience cooled on it live as soon as they got involved, and MJF popped them a little bit. But so I don't know. So in the end, I think they get a thumbs up for trying it. And I think by the end of it, you kind of got one step forward with the feud. But it also was a living, breathing example of it's just too much. It's too cute. Just let some things breathe. You don't need 85 people involved in this stuff to make it effective. So I was kind of like 50-50 on this last night.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm on the same trajectory, like what Moxley was saying in the middle of the ring when he commanded that area. The Firm coming out, to me, I think in the comments here, who was it? Azan called them the Dungeon of Doom of AEW.
Yes.
To me, they felt like, what was it? The Nexus, the second version of Nexus in WWE. The core. Yeah. There's like, it feels like that, where it's like, if you look at that group, like you have McGillicuddy, you had, he was Curtis Axel later.
Wade Barrett, right? Wasn't he in the core?
He was the leader, stuff like that. So it feels like that, where it's like, hey, there might be even some potential in this group. I like Lee Moriarty a lot. I like Ethan Page. That's about it on that group for me. But I like Stokely, I guess, not in AEW so thus far. But anyway, I'm tangenting. It feels like that. And it feels like the top best story you can tell right now in the company is unfurling in front of us. And then you have like literally the Trust Busters walking out and wreaking havoc for no reason. It just feels like very much does not fit together in the importance of the groups. And, there's lots of reasons that this could be happening. One is a babyface MJF could then be taking on an Ethan Page at Winter's Coming. He would have to overcome all those odds, which, I think that match could be good enough without all this drama behind it. That's probably the most generous viewing of it. The other viewing of it might be, hey, maybe they're going to come in and screw MJF over. And like them coming in and interfering in this match in any way is a big negative, a big thumbs down, no matter who wins there, right? That's a huge issue. Yeah. The worst case scenario is that, as some people in the comments, and I noticed this last night too, like, I know they're all worked punches, everybody, but like these look like, some MJF was punching air and knocking these guys out. And is there a very small chance that this is some sort of deep storytelling that MJF is doing where it looks like he's against the firm, but really they're still working together the whole time, which would be the absolute worst case scenario, in my opinion, that they help him win just like they helped him win the chip. And, everything Moxley's been saying is true, et cetera, which would work for Moxley, but not for MJF. So, it went downhill a bit for me afterwards. And even, Moxley, I mentioned, I thought it was funny. He was like, was it Saturday or Sunday? And then MJF was laughing like that. That was fine with me. I like that. I like to see people be human beings wrestling. But for Moxley even, and I think he's usually bulletproof, for him to be like, whatever there is in there, I'm going to pull the best out of you and make you what you want to be because that's my job. And it felt a little twinge of meta to me from Moxley of like, hey, I'm going to give you the best match of your life and I'm going to make you the biggest star in this company because you're not right now. I am, which is fine. And just like a little bit of like, don't give it all away, John. And I didn't love that either. So, again, I'm more mixed. I think when Moxley's talking without anything around it, and when MJF is talking after that without really anything in that, when they're nose to nose, like it feels like it's, maybe an 8 out of 10 on what this could have been. But with all the moving pieces, like also I totally get that, I think for Tony Khan, who's not been very strong at pivoting in his booking for the top act of the company, I think he's done a better job than I would have given him credit up to this point. In changing, because this is obviously supposed to be CM Punk and MJF. So,
right, and they kind of that obviously got, and I think it's fair to judge this with that in mind too. Like this was like not the direction that they were planning on going, and so now you got to pivot, and I think look, the story here I think is when you take out, like, let's just take out for a minute like the doubt that we all have that it'll pay off in a way that's suitable, right? If you take that away and just look at the story for what it is, you've got Jon Moxley, who's this hot champion. He's beat pretty much everybody. He is going in against MJF, who has put it on the table that, hey, I know I've been XYZ cheater, but man, Regal gave me some tough love in the ring, and then I decided that, hey, I'm gonna do this alone. I'm gonna do this the right way. I'm gonna win the title. And that coincides with a fan base that is pretty much universally cheering MJF at this point in time. And then you have Jon Moxley throughout the build questioning whether, hey, can MJF do this? Is he's not in the same league as me, not in an arrogant way, but just in like a, confident Moxley babyface way. And MJF is going to try to prove that he can hang and he can win and he can, carry the company like he wants. I think on the surface, that's a pretty good main event story for like a babyface who's going like this, right? And like you can use this as a means to launch him to another level, which I think is what a win would do for him. But then you have to add back in all the other stuff. And that's where, I wish that wasn't like one of the more intriguing parts of this match, because it really should just be, it should look like MJF's time, feel like MJF's time, and then, become MJF's time. And my prediction is that that's still the way it goes. Like I that's how I'm going to predict this thing to go. I'm going to stick with what I've been saying, in that AEW is not taking full advantage of a lot of angles and a lot of opportunities with talent, but I guess I just can't see him missing with this. Like I look at the pieces on the board and like say to myself, okay, well, you're working on an Ethan Page build. You've got MJF winning. You've got him getting cheered. You've got him kind of leaning babyface. He's cutting babyface promos after the show goes off the air to send fans home happy. I just think they kind of made the decision that, hey, okay, we're going with this now. And, so pay to see your guy win the title. And to me, icing on the cake would be Moxley going, hey, you know what? I brought it out of you. You brought it here, handshake. And then like the face turn is complete. Anything else as far as how they booked this match outside of that, and is just, to me, counterproductive to the whole company. Like, you have a hot star in MJF right now. If you don't take advantage of that, like, it's a big problem. It's a big miss. And you may still get a big TV deal, and you may still, the company's surely not going anywhere. But it's these kind of moments where you have to strike at the right time in the right way. And if they miss on that to me, that's really, really telling. So I vote MJF wins straight up as babyface and closes the show celebrating. But I'm not fully confident in that prediction either. Where are you at? Did anything change your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly it's so weird.
Well, what do you think's going to happen? Maybe not what should happen, but what do you think will go down?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what I think. I mean, what you said is the obvious that should happen, right? I mean, just for everything we're saying, for just like to look healthy as a company and make.
But you think it will, though?
Yeah, I mean, I am. Yeah, like 52%. Yes, that's where I'm leaning. That's what should happen. It's so obvious that's what should happen. But like, I don't. At this point, I don't give the benefit of the doubt to Tony Khan on that sort of stuff. To not be, not to not make a good decision, but he needs to prove that he's not going to have talent kind of tell him what to do, basically, from a creative standpoint. And I think MJF doesn't want to. This would not be his optimal choice. It'd be some sort of thing I'm talking about with the firm coming in, or him using the ring, whatever.
Right.
Him being
winning
with heelish tactics is what he wants to do, right? So do I trust Tony Khan to be like, hey, you're doing it this way, we're going to do it straight down the middle. Regal's not doing anything, the firm's not coming out, all that sort of stuff. Like, yes, that's what should happen, but so I'll give it a slight positive that is going to happen. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. More about this match is me just taking a deep breath, of a sigh of relief, really, that the company that I like to watch will, make the right choice here and have MJF win as a babyface pretty clean, have a good 20-minute match, and go from there. But there's just a lot that can happen around it that I'm, dubious of things. But I just checked the betting odds, so I won't tell them here if no one wants to know. But, I would say slightly interesting would be the betting odds on this match. So,
yeah. I honestly, I think the match itself could be really good, and really could make an MJF babyface even stronger, because you've got this narrative of the match itself where you're going to have Jon Moxley just lay it on MJF and try to pull this competitor out of him, right? I mean, there's a lot of sympathy in something like that, whether you like Jon Moxley or not. Like, seeing somebody get kind of like either beaten up that way, like there's a psychology of wanting to see that guy kind of rise up and make that comeback and win. So I think they could lean on that as far as the match goes too. So I mean, this will be a real interesting conversation next week on this show to see how they do, what happens. Because like you said, it's fairly obvious what they should do. Mm-hmm. And you just have to have, I don't know, I don't want to call it the brains to go with it, but kind of like the ability to look at the situation if you're Tony Khan and go, wait a minute here. If we're thinking of doing anything else other than this, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing when it's clear that we're at a point where you gotta give the audience kind of what they want, give them permission to cheer MJF and then see what you can do out of that. But he's clearly the hottest start they have. Moxley, as a rival there, but it's time. I think it's time. We have some discussion in the chat here about Jon Moxley, and here's the thing, guys. Like, I think I mentioned this last week, and Tyler, slap me back if you disagree, obviously. But to me, it's like I don't think you're owed, a world title run. I think I think you get a world title run when you're over enough and when the time's right. And for Moxley, he got a big crowning moment before the pandemic, and clearly that was going to be his time, and the world threw everything for a loop. And then after that, you had other factors, you had other things come into play, and you wanted to get the championship elsewhere, and so you got that's how the cookie crumbles. And so I don't know about you, Tyler, but I'm not sitting here really worried too much another transitional run for Moxley, because it's just sometimes that's just the way it goes. And you don't, just because you feel good about Moxley as your champion doesn't mean you hold on a potential bigger move, with MJF or anybody else for that matter. So, and I'm not suggesting you just hot shot this thing all around, but this has been a long time coming for him. And, I don't know if he gets any hotter than this without the title. And that's what you need to analyze if you're Tony Khan.
For sure. I mean, yeah, you got to pull the trigger on him. I think the chat's kind of on that too, where you need to make this the peak of what MJF can be. And if you don't do it now, it's going to feel like, to a much smaller degree, a Braun Strowman, not going with him until the pandemic, right? And then, where you get a chance to do that. I'm not saying that they're equal as stars, right? I think MJF's much higher star caliber than Strowman. That's just the most recent example of not going with somebody that I think hurt. But yeah, I mean, and to me, I think once we zone, when we go a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, when we look back at this period of AEW, to me, Moxley's been the champion since Double or Nothing, essentially, right? I mean, Punk got injured the week after, and then Moxley soon became the interim champion. And besides dropping it on one random show, got it back. So, he's had it for, in my mind, 6-7 months. If you look back at the scope of AEW history, right, you have the Jericho run, then you got the Mox run, then you got the Kenny, then you got the Hangman, then you got the Mox run, right? I mean, there's the little brief CM Punk there in the middle feels like it'll be, more of an asterisk or a footnote in history of AEW than what it has been. So, and it feels like this run is its own thing, and it's time to, it feels like the right time for me. Like me and you were on here talking about when Punk came back, do you really want to take it off of Moxley, who's so hot with the belt right now and feels like the right guy for that belt? And, we were both leaning towards, without any drama, on keeping it on him if we had, full choice. And I don't think either of us would advocate for that in this moment. And, that's kind of the feel for who's over, who's not. And this is like MJF's era. And, Moxley's going to do other stuff. He's got infinite stuff to do. Whoever he feuds with, if he's going to be a tag team champion, if he's going to go for trios, if he's going to go for whatever, if he's got a blood feud with somebody, that's going to be a top act thing. So he's going to be good. He's going to be a main guy for the next 5 years, no matter what. So I don't have a big of an issue for it. It's more you'd be squandering the opportunity with MJF to make him the star that he wants to be, and he can be for your company if you don't do it. So it just is a no-brainer. So that being said, I think no way MJF doesn't win on Saturday. I think it's all of the stuff around it that I'm worried about that could happen, and then where he is projected, morality-wise, if you will.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think that, I think Moxley's going to be fine. Sean, I know you had a comment in there about he's got to have something to do, and I think he will. I don't think this will be act disappears onto dark type thing. That won't be what happens here with Jon Moxley. There's a lot of people that he could work with. He's got the Blackpool Combat Club. Aleister Black and that whole group is coming back. There's a lot of different directions I think you can take him. That's not the championship. So I guess I just don't think I'm worried about that. I think you just have to take care of business that's at hand, and then just figure out Moxley a little bit later, or they probably already have something ready to go for him. Anything else, man, on this match?
I don't think so. I mean, definitely will be probably hopefully the most noteworthy thing to come out of it, so we can save enough speculation, just have the match. But so we'll see. It's, to me, easily the most important main event in AEW pay-per-view history. The other ones have felt, this feels like a foregone conclusion as well, like most of them do, but everything around it feels a little bit more questionable than it has in the past, for good or for bad, depending on your perspective. So
and foregone conclusions, they're not always bad in wrestling. I don't think you necessarily want to go into every match going, oh, I wonder what's going to happen here. It can be as simple as, oh man, I got to buy this pay-per-view because I want to see MJF win the title, and I know he's going to, and I got to see it. Much like a lot of like your big time babyface championship wins in history, like I don't know, the Austin wins, and a lot of Hogan's title wins and Cena's. Like you kind of knew they were coming, but they still were intriguing because you're like the guys were so over, and that's what you want to build here with MJF and see what you can do. Okay, let's get on to another major match of the show. I'd say the second biggest match of the show, and maybe the biggest women's match in AEW history. The 3+ years the company's been in existence. We've got Saraya coming back from retirement against Britt Baker. No title on the line, just a grudge match in the women's division. I don't know who the hell you're supposed to cheer in this one. I love the match. I think it's just been one miss after miss after miss after miss as far as the build to this goes. And I think I'm probably harshest on the build to this match more than anything, just because you had such an obvious card to play in the Saraya return to the ring thing, that it's been around, and they've said those words, but it hasn't been like a focus, like, hey, we're promoting this in a big way. I don't get that sense. And then on top of that, you've got Britt Baker going out there doing whatever she's doing. She's playing babyface and she's the heel, and Saraya's the babyface who's playing heel. Like, it has been an absolute mess in my eyes. And so the match, I'm sure, can be good, but boy, this is an example of not getting the most out of a big card that you have to play. And so I thumbs down for me on how this thing went.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're much more subdued here than you were on some of your replies on Twitter, so I won't blow you up there. Not that you were unprofessional or anything, but
yes, not unprofessional, but just to the point.
Yeah, that Britt Baker thing was was a disaster last night. If she's going to be the heel in this match and she's going to lose as a heel, it makes no sense to, like, literally you have the way she's portraying it. She's Jon Moxley, essentially, right? The heart and soul of AEW. She's been there since the beginning, and this carpetbagger is coming in Saraya to, like, take my spot, take your spot as I'm your whatever. I guess you can cue up that she's doing like a sort of like a dictator, is like, hey, you all love me and you've always loved me, but like I don't think that's what she's going for. I think she's going for that's how she truly feels, and that's what a babyface would say. So that, like, ability last night, a pre-tape that she recorded, and they were like, yep, that's great, that's what we're going for.
Green light, like, yeah, yep,
insane. Now if they do a double turn here, which I think would be best for everybody involved, honestly, the way that the Brit has gotten some reaction in this current role, and then Saraya has been kind of on the the downgrade since then. It just seems like to have, like, Brit try and cheat and lose to Saraya and she went, it's just like, for how big this match is, it's been kind of utterly, if that's what happens, an utter disaster. Again, I won't bring up the betting odds, but the betting odds are extremely interesting to me, because it's not what I would have, I don't bet on wrestling, but for this reason, because I wouldn't have thought the odds were this way, but just very interesting. And we'll see, especially, I was like, okay, well, maybe they're going to do the double turn in the match, and then later in Dynamite, Britt comes out and is helping Jamie, who's, being a heel in her role against Toni Storm. It's just like so strange that this is what's happening. And, I think a broader discussion we'll see after this pay-per-view is like, are heels and faces dead in AEW? And I think that's like obviously a joke, but something to really look at here, because if MJF says not a face or a heel, and then Britt's doing the same thing, like, that's two of your biggest stars in each division. Like, you might have something here to go.
Well, and I think, like, that doesn't work. I mean, like, it can work. It's not that it can't work, but it's special talent. It's a special feud for that to really, truly work. And I think even if you go back, you look at some of the biggest babyface versus babyface matches ever, they don't do as well as babyface versus heel does. So there's shades of gray always, but to me, you can't live in that perpetual state. I just fundamentally disagree with that approach. And I don't think, based on what we've seen of Britt Baker, I think my biggest issue here is that I don't think she's turning babyface. Like, she should at this point, because she pretty much has on TV. But then you look at all like all the happenings around her, and yes, she's on Jamie Hayter's side. She's still working with heels as far as that goes. We've seen her get momentum as a babyface before and actively push it away to stay heel. Like, last summer, she was at that point where, like, she's undeniably like one of the most over women that the company's had. People want to see her win that title. She wins it, good response, but then she stays heel. And it's like, I wrote a column about this on PWTorch.com. It's like you can't have both. Like, it's hard to like be this heel that gets heat and is supposed to do the job of a heel that has responsibility, but then like doesn't deliver like on that responsibility. Like, that's an issue. So it has been a mess, man. And I don't think either that, like, you have Saraya coming in, and I don't know how you just don't tell that feel good story, at least for a little while. Like, if you're going to put her and she's going to be a baby or a heel later on, great. But you've got like low hanging fruit in terms of like a top notch babyface comeback story that you jacked up somehow. So like, when I say, hey, I trust this MJF thing is going to go well, like, this is what you serve up on a silver platter and go, Zach, how can you possibly be saying that when this is happening on the same damn show? So, yeah, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth there a little bit, but this whole thing is just flabbergasted me. I think Saraya wins, but I think sometimes you have to have the story right for the match to be really good, and I think it has a ceiling because the story's been so piss poor.
Yeah, and that's why my comment earlier about, like, Tony Khan giving too much power, however you want to interpret that, to talent and making their own decisions. This is obviously a prime example of Britt Baker doing whatever the hell she wants with her character. And, I'm sure there's someone back there who's like, hey, maybe this is not like the greatest move for a heel to be, doing this. And then, I would at least hope that someone thinks that backstage. I think certainly like Arn Anderson or Dean Malenko probably think the way we do about a character, right? So, it just is interesting, and yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think, or did you listen by any chance to the most recent Saraya podcast with Renee Paquette by any chance? Okay, so I fired it up the other day, and in her interview with Renee, Saraya talks about how, and I'm paraphrasing here, so nobody quote me on this. This is not a direct quote from an interview. But basically, the gist of it was, we're not given any direction on this stuff. So it's on us to go out there and cut the promo. And it's like, man, I know we don't want to script promos. I'm not advocating for that. But with a major story like this, you should have something like, hey, Saraya, I want you to hit these points. Get there however you want, but you're the babyface in this thing, so hit on this. And Britt, you're the heel, so get here however you want, but you need to hit on these things. And if you don't, then you address that. You address that later on. But boy, if this is one of 10 feuds, and those people are just going out there doing whatever, it's no wonder that you see like a drop in the ratings like that. Like, it's eventually it catches up with you, and it's not a overnight thing. It's not even a week-to-week thing. But what was the viewership last week? 973,000 or something like that.
911, I think.
911. So you're dropping almost 100,000 viewers on your go-home show. Like, that's not great. And it's not just because of this. I don't want to just draw too many conclusions, but it's like when you hear that in an interview, you're like, wait a minute, you got to give something, like something. And I think just even a little bit would clean some of this stuff up.
Yeah, it was not. Yes, so it was on. It said 9:30 last week. It was 9:11 the week before. So there's
9:30. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's got to be a difference between, based on that, right? So there's got to be a difference between Vince McMahon on Monday morning of Raw, ripping up the entire script and rewriting it 3 times throughout the day, and there's some difference between that and, hey, here's like your name and what segment you are on a whiteboard, and good luck to you. Like, that, like, just a little bit. I'm more aligned with the latter on that, on how to do things, but just
me too.
A little more towards the have a script, approve some major angles, approve maybe anything Britt, Saraya, MJF, and Moxley say, and then everything else can kind of be whatever. You can let the Acclaimed have some fun. That's fine. But yeah, that's just proof in the pudding of why I'm so concerned about things happening, of why MJF, or while Regal will punch Moxley and MJF and him will be a heel team together at the end of this and all that stuff.
No.
Right? Like, so in my final question on this, for you, unless you have more, but it's like, as a fan, not as the analyst, not as the correspondent, whatever, as an AEW fan, who do you want to win this match between Saraya and Britt Baker, the way it's been laid out to you?
Oh, Britt.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Like there's right. That's a good question to go with, because it's like, I don't know how you could answer otherwise. Like, it's just like a natural. I think it's just like a natural thing to be like, hey, wait, this is the AEW. I'm watching the show. You may watch WWE too, but it's like you're spending time with AEW, and there's something to that. Like, and so it's like you want that person who's kind of defending the, I don't know, honor of AEW, for lack of a better way to put it, to win. And she totally set it up that way on purpose. And so it's like, but obviously it's not going to go that way. I think Saraya is going to win. Just because like if Saraya does the job, it's like, what do you do with her at that? Like, there's no way she's losing this match, because she's coming back from injury. I don't see an avenue to a loss here, but weirder things have happened, I guess. But no, you definitely, as a fan, want to see. I think you want Britt Baker to win. Do you agree?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's 100% where I am. That's why she's the babyface, in my opinion. So, and why a double turn would be possible, because like Saraya beating her in front of that live crowd, like, you and I are more aligned with the whatever 8 to 10,000 people that are going to be in that crowd in New Jersey, then they're going to want to be cheering for Britt Baker. And if they need to make a turn in the middle of the match, like, how's that going to go? That means that match is going to get 5 minutes cut off immediately. We're going to go home and we're going to deal with it on the back end, probably, is what you would do with some things there. But also in the chat, we don't talk about this here, but some good conversation about stuff and time for scripts and whatnot. I think just one thing, if there was access many wrestling journals had to follow Tony Khan around for a week, I would be very interested to read that piece and how that week goes, a normal week for Tony Khan. So
that would be. I volunteer you to do that.
Yeah, I think me and Tony would get along great, so I would definitely do it. So.
Absolutely, you do it. That has the potential to be like eye-opening from a wow. Okay, we know why things are the way they are, because there's so much going on. I also think it has an equal chance of being a kind of a eye-opening opportunity and going, he's not doing anything with with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's got time for some scripts or to do some hiring, or I don't know. Like, I think it could run the whole entire spectrum on as far as what your analysis would be. Like, man, not to mention, I don't know if I could hang with Tony Khan's social game. Like, I'm not sure what that is. Oh man, there's a goal. There's a goal piece of business right there to work to achieve. A week with Tony Khan. Send help immediately. All right. So boy. So you think will they pull the trigger on Britt Baker here, or is it Saraya one way or the other, double turn or not?
Yeah, no, I mean I think it's pretty down the middle. I feel confident that it's Saraya beating Britt, and she wins. Maybe we'll see where the matches are planned. I would think. We'll see maybe the idea of the women's title going on as the co-main event will still happen, and this will be earlier in the show, around the time as the six-man title, or trios title, I should say. That's so, will Rebel be the only one to come out and try and cheat, and then that kind of blows up in Britt's face, and then Saraya wins triumphantly as a babyface? That's kind of how I see it going. And just the reaction, in the comments here, I think, both are going to get cheered for. No one's going to boo Saraya. I just, we'll see.
We'll see.
I would just be worried of that if I was AEW, because you want to think of all the angles on everything, right? And you want to make sure she's put in a good spot to get cheered, and hopefully they are thinking about that. So,
yeah. Oh, what a mess! I really think this is one of the messiest pay-per-view builds that we've seen, and that promo yesterday, I was like, I had some stuff going on, so it was like a late night Dynamite watch. And I'm like, damn, I wish I would have been involved in the discussion on this when it actually all went down, because I'm like, this is jaw-droppingly silly to do it this way. And it's just like, wow. So I asked on Tony Khan's media call today, I asked a question about heels and baby faces and what that means to them and whether or not it's focus. The question was not answered. Maybe next time. Okay. Boy, there's so much else to dig into here. Let's see. I'm looking at the card here. How about
while you're looking, do we have a correspondent at the scrum after the show on Saturday?
I don't know. know. I believe we do, but I'm not sure exactly who.
It seems like a rich.
Yeah, I don't want to commit to that officially. I don't know. But
I'm hoping. I think Rich would ask that question. So.
Yeah. Okay, I want to touch on Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus. Not a lot here, I don't think, unless you have a lot. But I like this story because it feels like a pro wrestling story to me, And I think that there's been a lot of herky jerkiness with Jungle Boy. Same with Luchasaurus. Christian Cage's injury obviously hurt things and came at the wrong time. But the bottom line here is, I thought the promo work from Jungle Boy yesterday in the video packages was super solid. It felt personal. It felt, he was to the point, smart delivery. There's clear baby faces and heels. You have a story of the match that's kind of taking shape in terms of we'll see who the real monster is, from a Jungle Boy or Luchasaurus perspective. This is not complicated, but I think it's been pretty darn effective, all things considered. And I'm, when Jungle Boy gets this win back, and presumably he gets the win here, at least that's who I'm taking. That should be a pretty big moment, and a moment that doesn't elevate him from here to way up here, but a little bit up. And I think that's what you're looking for. So I comment on that just to say I think this has been a pretty solid build for a pay-per-view match that's going to happen in the middle of the card.
Yeah, I certainly don't think you can build every match this way, right? I mean, neither guy has wrestled for weeks,
right?
And we really haven't, maybe a couple segments here and there, but I do think it's been good for the where it is on the card, right?
Right.
And what has been established behind it, it feels like certainly this is all leading to whenever Christian's back, having Jungle Boy and him have their actual match that actually counts and feels like a big deal, and kind of get that thing to a co-main event level match if you have Jungle Boy win here, and this is him just climbing that mountain. So yeah, I mean, and do you really want him going against the Blade on some Rampage randomly to be on TV wrestling? Probably not. It's better to just have this match. It's in the cage, so you got that gimmick working for you. You don't need to see Luchasaurus dominate some local talent in 1 minute and then having Christian cut a promo. So yeah, I'm with you. I think for this level of match, I think this is good. I think the Sting, Darby, and Jeff Jarrett match could have used a little bit more of this and been a little less in my face the last 3 weeks and a little more subdued like this, and I might be a little more excited for it.
I think that's a lot of it is where this stuff is on the card too, and this isn't trying to masquerade around as a main event or anything like that. It's a solid middle of the card program, and I think that's a good thing. Are you going Jungle Boy too though?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it makes sense. And there's no door on the cage in AEW, right? As far as,
I don't believe so. No,
I can't remember that being a spot as of yet. So
somebody check us on that in the chat just to make sure.
If it is a block, maybe Christian will try to do something. So he'll
be involved. Yeah,
he's kind of that goofy comic book villain that will he'll get his comeuppance for trying to do something, and I'm excited to see that. This is good. This is like very old school wrestling to me in a good way, right? Where you've got your very obvious hero that we all like, and he hasn't been talking as much, what they think is a positive, and the evil villain that everyone hates, and he's gonna defeat him. So that's a win-win all around.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good setup for Christian Cage and Jungle Boy too. It gets, like I said, it gets Jungle Boy a little bit hotter for whenever that match happens. So thumbs up on that. Darby Allin and Sting against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. I'm a sucker for those Darby Allin kind of skit videos. I think if you listen to enough of my analysis and work, you would not believe that. But I do like it. I do. I mean, it seems like he puts time into it. It's very much I think in line with the character. The Sting appearances help. This match is just kind of there in a lot of ways, I think, to get Jeff Jarrett involved and what have you. So fundamentally, I'm not a big fan of what they've done here. But as I said, when Jeff Jarrett made his debut, as long as this doesn't turn into something more than what this is, which is just like a second match of the show type spot, I'm okay with it. Does Jeff Jarrett's team do the job here, Tyler? He doesn't like doing jobs. So, but I can't imagine Sting and Darby losing this one.
That was going to be my warning to you. I would certainly say, if I was a gambling man, which I am, I still would put money on Jeff Jarrett. It's got a pretty good return right now. Because
yes, it does, for better or worse.
Jeff Jarrett, like you said, is not like to do a job, and especially on his first thing in a company where they've shown a proclivity to have Darby lose to people to get them over. If you really want to make, I don't really want to do a Jeff Jarrett impression here, but if you're in Tony Khan's office, be like, hey, if you really want to make this something, you really want to make me what you think I can be, I got to pin Darby. So
got to pin Darby. Yep.
So, just be careful. And as Zahn says, if you did a job to a 76-year-old man, that was his last match, right? I guess you really should go out on your back, right? But
but it's Ric Flair. I mean, and that was comical anyway.
Yeah. So just be careful. That is the allure, if you're a promoter of Jeff Jarrett, is that you can have him come in and kind of be that guy, that Bully Ray, right? Same sort of MO. That kind of get in, you're like, oh, well, let's make it a rubber match. I got to win the first one, all right? Then they'll win 2 in a row. They'll look real good. And then that second match never happened.
Somehow for that third one, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, just be careful. And I would say have no expectations. Just expect to see Darby take the craziest guitar through the head that you've ever seen, and then have Sting jump off something. It should be a fun match, start to finish, but be careful. It could be a dour note for the and Sting no selling the guitar shot.
If that happens, I think that'd be a sign that things are headed in the right direction for the match.
That would be great. I would pop. That'd be like a top 3 pop of the night for me personally.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, that's how to do this match right. I think this has to be just shine up the baby faces and let the heels get heat, go to the finish, call it a day. It should be that simple. And Tony, don't buy what Jeff's selling you. I promise. Take my words of wisdom. Yeah. Okay. I think we gave Jeff Jarrett enough time, right? I mean,
I think so.
I'm gonna give him anything else. Brendan, what's going on from Australia? Pretty cool. Very cool for you joining us. I'm glad you did. And not for you at the moment. AEW Dynamite. Elaborate.
It's 7 a.m. over there.
Yes, and what time is it over there? we would like to know, but also elaborate on the issues with Dynamite, because I think like, look, you're not the only one week over week who kind of had a similar, at least vibe for 1 week. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And yeah, 8 a.m. on Friday. Okay. Happy Friday, Brendan.
Pretty good guess.
Yeah. God damn. Tyler, you're like the time zone guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotta up my game. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What next? What? Okay. I hate to do this because I feel like we could just copy and paste analysis from Britt Baker and Saraya to Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose. The TBS title's on the line. Nyla is the babyface, but she stole the title and is parading around as if she's the actual TBS champion. Yesterday on commentary, you had, like, as they're promoting the matches, it was Tony Schiavone or Excalibur, one of them say, and we'll finally find out who the real TBS champion is. And it's like, we know Nyla Rose is not the TBS champion. You can't just steal the belt and then you're a viable champion. And not only is that the story, but the commentary team is selling it as if she's an actual TBS champion, and that there is, as if there is some doubt around that title situation. I haven't liked this. It's another where the waters are too muddy for heel and baby faces, that you don't know how you're supposed to feel going into this thing. And I think that's a miss. I mean, obviously, I think Cargill wins this thing back, but the thumbs down on what they've done to get to the match.
Yeah, to be fair, the stolen belt story is always a bad idea, no matter the promotion or story or who's in it. So,
no question. Yeah.
As a rule of thumb, it's like should never happen ever again in the history of wrestling. And I would stand.
You stole my belt.
Yeah. Also, like you think with the commentary, when they show the graphics, it's a TBS champion, Jade Cargill versus TBS champion, as that's like her nickname, Nyla Rose. Like, it's insane that it's like, the institutional control is lost in this moment with the AEW, and the fact that the graphics guy, the announcers are all kind of, well, I don't know, she's got it. Is that
she's holding the belt?
It's basically the gimmick there. So it's not good, and I think Jade unifying that title in some sort of going for the women's title and continuing the streak there still is a great opportunity that would probably help with this belt. Maybe if you have some sort of like, hey, the Owen title tournament also features the All-Atlantic champion. If they lose, then he loses that belt and gets put into this, whatever. Get rid of all these belts. I know that's the lowest hanging fruit ever for everybody. But
you know what? God, can I rant on that for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to rant on that because here's the thing. I don't think, I think you're in the right place where you're saying, hey, too many belts, but I don't want to go there again. But I was thinking about it. The fact that they have so many belts really hurts your ability for me to tell like a story with some of your top talent. Because if Jon Moxley loses this AEW title, he can go for the All-Atlantic title, he can go for the ROH title, he can go for the TNT title, the tag team titles, the trios titles, the ROH pure title, the TV title, and ring. Like, so because all of that's on the table, it really, I think it hurts your ability to tell like a top story with major stakes with that world championship, because the company tries to define all the titles as really important. And so I think there is some drama removed, and you're starting to see like a residual effect of that, where it's like, well, people don't, we don't care about the AEW World Tag Team titles. If we're FTR, we've got 3 other ones. And it's like, I think it just created an environment where it's hard to put drama on there. So I think we should be bringing it up, because to me, it's starting to hinder some business moves that you can make in terms of matches with high stakes. So, okay, rant over.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Go ahead.
If you disagree with that, I mean, I just can't, you can debate anything, but it's just so crazy that almost every promoter falls into this category.
Yeah,
so WWE has ebbed and flowed on having a lot and then dropping them and whatever. But I mean, Impact's had 1 million across its time in history, and mean, NWA currently, I know no one watches it, and I don't either. But they have 35 secondary titles and 75, division classes and all that stuff. It's just like, man, you're on streaming for an hour a week. Like, you don't need all these titles, and so it's crazy. It's just like, I don't know if it's just you want to keep everyone happy and give them a little trinket to walk around with, and that makes them feel good. But like, man, if you're like an up and coming wrestler and you're watching this, A, thank you, but B, like, have like money making feuds that you don't need a belt for is much more important than you walking around with the 75th title in a promotion. It's just dumb.
Because I could go online and buy a replica AEW World Title.
I did. I'm a mark that has a title in his, and that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, look, you're the champion. You're the champion.
Yeah, I believe you have to defend it if you have it in the crowd. So I've never brought it in the crowd. So,
hey,
but yeah, like
next time that you sign on for the show, you should put like AEW World Champion in quotes, and then Tyler Sage, and then your handle.
Well, that's WWE. Let's get it right on that.
Oh, sorry. Oh gosh. Tracy, thanks for joining us. And yes, you joined at the right time for if you wanted a Zach rant. I'm not sure everybody does, but thanks for being here for sure. And yeah, Zach, you're probably right. Like, it sounds like something's in the cards at some point, but until it is, once they hit March, it'll be a year of this now. It's a long time. Okay. Let's. I want to. There's two more Full Gear matches that I want to spend a little time on, and then I want to pivot to a WWE topic. That's just more of a fun conversation, I think, than anything else. Okay. TNT Championship. Speaking of too many titles, Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs versus Samoa Joe. They had a nice little thing going with Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs, I thought. One-on-one, it seemed like two guys that could have a pretty badass match together. And then Joe turns heel kind of out of nowhere. Last night, I was glad to see him get the mic time to kind of address turning on Wardlow, because that's not always a given, with AEW and on Dynamite. So that's a positive. But man, he had a hard time getting heat. Like, he had to openly just crush the fans in order to get some kind of negative reaction, and that's fine. It's something that it's like a tool in the toolbox if you're a heel. But boy, Joe was not unlikable for 90% of that promo. I was not along going, man, where has this Joe been since his debut? Like, this is the Samoa Joe that we need to see on TV on a regular basis. And again, it was from the heel side of things. So I think this match could be really interesting from a match perspective, like once the bell rings. But it feels like this is we got to make sure to get these guys on the show. So what else are we going to do? All right, let's do this, because you were down the road on a Hobbs and Wardlow match, and now Joe's kind of involved, and it's a little messy. So I give it a thumbs up, I guess, but I don't think you want to make it a practice of, oh man, we have to get these guys on the show, so let's figure out something for them to do. That, I think, could lead to lots of issues.
Yeah, do you have the card in front of you right now?
I do.
How many singles matches are there? 3?
All right.
The whole card?
1, 2, 5.
4,
5.
4, 5. Okay, 5 out of 11. So I would prefer always a singles match over a 3-way match. And I think this, and you have a 4-way match later. This to me is just some ease for booking purposes, which is not the best way to set up a match. It's whoever loses kind of gets the benefit of the doubt, especially if it's Wardlow and he's going to lose his belt. He doesn't have to get pinned, which I think is a big key here. And also, even more important is that this feels like a way to set up Joe's match at the Final Battle match, which is I don't like at all, because that's the problem with Ring of Honor. If you're now having pay-per-view matches that lead into other, parts of the company's other pay-per-views, then that's where you kind of lose me. And I think just Hobbs and Wardlow figuring their stuff out would have been good. And Wardlow has proven he can have a good match with a big guy who can move, and I think Hobbs fits that boat as well. And now it's more this and more about Joe with both of them, and now Hobbs feels like the third guy that doesn't really have much to do going on here. So should be fun, should be like a fast 10-minute match, but I'm fearful that it's more to serve purposes outside of this match itself, and so we'll see. But
do you think a Joe final battle match gets born out of this match with the people in it, or somebody else?
Yeah, I think that, my guess, I don't think that has odds either, which I thought was interesting. It does not. So
it just was made official, I think late last night.
Yeah, the odds were released, I guess a day ago. So, but I guess I would see it be Joe pins Powerhouse, and then Joe's got both those titles, and then Wardlow goes for him at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Would be my guess.
Okay.
That's just thinking about it right here on the spot, but it just feels like having the three, not having Wardlow pin, but then going for the belt, and then having Joe and him have a story for the next couple of weeks. That definitely feels like the angle, right? Like to have Joe and Powerhouse have a match doesn't make much sense for Joe is the one that turned on Wardlow.
Right.
That could be a positive thing, but it's just I don't know. There's better ways to get there than this, but it could be good. So I'm definitely less down on this than other things. I think it could be good. I just wanted to see these Wardlow and Powerhouse have a match with each other because I thought Cage and Wardlow was really good, and I was excited to see more of that sort of style.
Yeah, but see, you know what? You're right though. I didn't think about the ROH angle there. Wardlow versus Joe at Final Battle, that's a pretty good match for that show. If they go that route, but again, you're causing yourself some issues there. Even if it's a good match on paper, you're booking with your AEW TV time a feud for another company, and it's I don't know about that. Looks like our chat is going to need to see Hobbs versus Logan Paul at some point, which would be an interesting little feud. Okay, last but not least here, and then we'll go into some WWE stuff. The Trios titles, more titles. You get a title, and you get a title, and you get a title. Trios titles are on the line. Death Triangle versus the returning Elites. We haven't seen them since All Out. I suppose they're former Trios champions for a day or 3 days, depending on how you want to look at that. But they're coming back. I'll throw to you first on this one. You go first on what you thought of that whole thing yesterday with the Elite and the videos and all that fun jazz. Take it away, Tyler.
Yeah, for all the positives I said about hey, AEW's had a go home show for once, and they've kind of treated the main event like a main event and told a story. And I think you and I have not liked the direction of the Saraya Britt Baker story, but at least they've spent time, given it time to tell a story for hey, here's a feud that's not for a title. I think all those are positive in the meta sense of how you structure a company. But this is the way this has been done. Even the promo by Pac is hey, I've seen the rumors, I've seen the videos, and that was a horrible. So sorry for all our British.
No, that was good. That was pretty good.
But it is just the most insidery, cringy. This is how we're having this match, and they're just gonna get Thanos unsnapped and appear on the thing. It's yes, we all knew about it. We being all the lovely people watching us now, me and you, the people that are watching this week in and week out, the 818,000 people watching every week or whatever. But good Lord, just show them, have them come out. Are you not trying to sell them at all? You're not trying to move pay-per-views by having them come out and say something? That was I thought malpractice, not having them come out and show themselves and just appear and then be granted. I know we're not doing ranking systems, but man, I usually don't care about that stuff. But I was man, this is just what is going on here about there's different quadrants of the company where you have to tell a good story and have to earn your way there, and the other quadrants where it's well, yeah, they can come and do it. It's if I was a supporter of the CM Punk side, which I'm not, I'm a supporter of everyone was a child, is my camp. But how could you not be look at this? What in the hell is going on here with this company when this is they got suspended and they could just pop in and be pay-per-view people? I don't know. I thought it was pretty bad. How about you?
Oh, I thought it was awful. I really thought it was awful. Borderline as awful as the Saraya Britt Baker stuff. And again, it comes back to are you getting the most out of these things? And like, you can't say that about this. Like, you have the Elite, who's, in all intents and purposes, a like top 5 draw in your company, like, and has been since day one. They disappear without any sort of anything, no explanation, no nothing. Okay, I get, okay. Like, even if you stipulate to the fact that that sucks, but there's nowhere else to do it because you had to suspend them and there's legal issues involved. So, okay, sometimes life is what it is. But now that they're coming back, like, again, promote them. Like, what I mean, it can be as simple as, hey, world, the Elite is back. They haven't been on your television screens since All Out. They will be here at AEW Dynamite this week to, to talk about their future, whatever. Gives people a reason to watch the show. It creates a little intrigue as to what they're going to do. And then it's as simple as them coming out, cutting a promo going, hey, we've been gone, but look, we were not beat for those titles. Death Triangle, we're coming for you. We're coming for you at Full Gear. Stare down, end scene. Like, it can be that simple. And now you could dress that up too. I mean, you could dress that way up and have it be way more intriguing or intricate and less simple. But like, you got to get something out of this. Instead, you had these videos that ultimately amounted to nothing because all they did was show the graphic that had nobody there, and then it like colored itself in to the Elite. Like, what in the hell is this crap? Like that's not a wrestling angle. That's just some fancy production nonsense. Like, you have to promote this kind of stuff. You've got to promote Soraya's comeback. You got to promote the Elite coming back for their first match since All Out. Like, there's intrigue there for better or worse. No, what happened at All Out is going to lead to people naturally wanting to see what goes on with these guys when they come back. And I think they just totally whiffed on it, just completely whiffed on it last night. The match, of course, at Full Gear is going to be, I think it's going to be good. It's going to be action packed. It's going to be crazy fun stuff without question. But man, it's just such a miss in terms of what booking a wrestling show is. It's unfathomable in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, again, to my point, at the top of the show, the middle of the show, whatever, it's just like, it feels like that's what they want to do, and there's just like, the creative control is there, and there's no pushback from the top, and that's what I'm worried about with a lot of these matches going the wrong way for me. A pretty easy low-hanging fruit of like, hey, this is like a good direction for this company, this is a good way to build a star, etc. But you're going to kind of work uphill when you shouldn't have to, and so we'll see. But
yeah. Okay. All right. So Full Gear, Saturday night. We won't be doing a live Torchcast. We're keeping them to WWE pay-per-views right now, but I'll be on the live tweet at PWTorch. So come hang out there. We'll figure out some cool stuff to do here on the YouTube channel after the fact, probably. And But you can follow both of us on Twitter for our thoughts during the show. And again, follow us at PWTorch for a full live tweet of that as well.
I don't know if we want to brainstorm on the show here, but we can confirm off air. But would people be interested in us popping on if you're not doing the VIP podcast afterwards?
Not a bad idea. Thumbs up, everybody in the chat. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll see throughout. But
we'll be like, go away. We don't want to hear you anymore.
Yeah. We don't need your three beers after watching a 5-hour show. We don't need any more wrestling.
Yeah.
Hey, something crazy happens on the.
I know. I gotta pay my pay-per-view dollars for that media scrum afterwards. That's can't miss this time. All right, let's put a pin in AEW. Talk a little bit of WWE. Austin Theory. We spent some time talking about the cash-in last week, failed cash-in, and how it could go one of two ways. Like, it's either the end of his push, as you know it, or it's a chapter in something bigger. And clearly, it's the latter. I thought Austin Theory had, and I feel like I was kind of in the minority on this, but I thought he had a really good night at the office. I mean, a lot of the show was built around around him and around him finding like that more aggressive personality, changing up the character a little bit, being a little bit more credible. And I thought he pulled it off. I didn't love him going, 50-50 with Dolph Ziggler for 15 minutes or whatever that was. But I do think at the same time, though, and this is true in AEW too, I've made the same argument that there is a meta factor of like, if people are going to see you as a top credible star, like you have to be able to have good long matches on TV, even if that means maybe give a little too much to a potential opponent, in this case Ziggler. So I get that criticism, but I'm also like, but he's got to be able to deliver that to be a top guy too. So I think it's good that he was able to show that. This is a thumbs up for me, and I think looking at what they're doing now, if you laid both of these scenarios out to Austin Theory and said, hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're either gonna you're gonna cash in against Roman and lose straight up, but that's kind of it, or we're gonna do this weird cash-in thing with the United States title. You're gonna be close to winning, but then not really win. But on the other side, you're gonna have this big character makeover. You're gonna be more of a central part of the show, more serious. Like, I'm taking that all day long. So with that being said, looking back, I think it worked well, and I don't think we're gonna see Austin Theory in main events for a good 12 to 18 months here probably, but I think he's got more of a higher ceiling now than he did even with the briefcase before.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you overall. I think Zach is making some interesting points here in the chat that I would probably more align with too on the person, not the character here. But we can you can read that if you want to in the chat. But for what this is like, and I know you're not advocating that stuff too, so I don't want to put that on you either. But it feels a little bit of a measuring contest of sorts by Triple H here. A little bit, I get the twinge of that. And yeah, I understand, like, hey, he's got the briefcase. He's not ready for that. I think we can all agree on that. I still contend that him losing to Roman Reigns, maybe in a 10-minute match would be a better way to do that than losing to Seth in the way it was. But it is what it is, right? It's not the biggest deal in the world. But that's more for the legitimacy of the Money in the Bank if you're going to use that going forward, as opposed to Austin Theory is where that. But it's a little bit of like, hey, I'm going to break you down and build you up in my image. It's kind of like a new coach taking over a team and their star player. You got to make them do something to really like, hey, now you're my guy too. So a little bit of that I'm getting, which I don't love, but it is what it is. But it worked, right? That's the main thing. And that we'll see in 6 weeks where he's at. Like, what is he doing? At WrestleMania, right? Is he doing something impactful? Is he going for the U.S. title there? Is he has some sort of feud that fits? Is he maintaining this trajectory? And if that's the case, then it all worked out well, and he could be a potential top 6 guy for you down the line for a long period of time, which I think was his trajectory outside of Progress, right?
Progress, yeah.
Where they performed. So, and Triple H is the one that facilitated that too, which is why this feels a little strange that, he got built up by Vince, and then Triple H is the one like, hey, I'm going to break you down, but then we're going to get you back there, is what that feels like. And it feels like Theory's on board with that at the moment. So, just like everything, like we were positive about WWE in spurts, and then it kind of will be tepid and then maybe get better down the line. I think that could be the trajectory here, right? Could be good. This is a nice change of pace, and then it could get kind of boring for a little bit and then pop up again. So, I don't want to just be like, okay, cool, Austin Theory is saved and all is well. I don't think you're saying that either. You're saying 18 months before he's even in sort of a big program of some sort. But
yeah.
Just like, I think the potential, this is a much better potential for him and that character and WWE. It's better for everybody involved. With this course of action, I would agree with you tremendously on that. And he has potential to be much more than he was as the crappy heel with the briefcase that he was doing for a long time here. Anointed guy that never works for anyone. To be a baby. It
never works. And he had like this dopiness to him too, where it was like, okay, this is not there's a ceiling on that. There just is, like, on that type of act. And if he continues to shed that successfully, I think he'll be in a better position. You're right about the Money in the Bank briefcase and like the perception of that, moving forward. So that's certainly something to watch. And the allegations, guys, I mean, obviously that's a problem. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I feel like, you guys know me. I always stipulate to like that's a major issue.
With you have it too with wrestling. I mean, you got to save you a little bit, not save you, but like to just like we like wrestling. But you got Riddle, you got Darby, you got Jay Lethal. That's just like off the top of my head, and there's so many. Right,
more, that's like, just for and like yeah. And so like it's just Go ahead.
Yeah, well, like if you're excited to see Darby and Jeff Jarrett, right, and Jay Lethal in that match, like it's not to like shame anybody, but it's like you kind of have to just be like, there's bad people in everything. Like I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. Good Lord, what am I going to do? What
are you going to do?
Yeah, like.
Well, so I mean, like seriously, like it's nobody. Just advocating for how somebody's presented on TV is not advocating for that push or lack thereof, despite the allegations. Like to me, it's all woven together. But it's like, I don't know. I just my take on it is they're awful allegations, and if something comes to fruition and Austin Theory has to spend time in a courtroom or spend time out of the company, then so be it. And it would be absolutely deserved. But like, I think it could just go so far. Like you could be talking about Darby and then it's like, well, Sting, we don't like Sting. He's teaming with Darby. He shouldn't, like there's so many different ways you could take that. And I think it's just good to stipulate that, look, these allegations are not good, but talking about these characters and these people from a wrestling angle perspective is just, it's not an avocation of them despite those allegations. I want to make that clear because I don't want that to be something that muddies the show.
I'd say the easiest way is like just not buy their merch if you are not supported. If you're dubious of them, if you're making your own conclusion on stuff, then that's like that's the way to show that. So.
Absolutely. And look, and I'm proud of the work we do on that kind of stuff at the Torch because we cover it, we report on it, we address it. We do all those things when especially when it all went down. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. All right, let's finish off with a fun topic. Stone Cold Steve Austin reportedly has been approached for a new contract. That news corresponds with like a slew of Steve Austin Instagram workout videos, him in an RV. Who else could pull that off except for Steve Austin? He had a pretty fun match at WrestleMania. I wouldn't call it like a good match, but depends on how you define good match. He had the crowd invested. They got huge pops, big time finish. He looked fine for what they did. He didn't take a lot of bumps, obviously. So, I think it's something that you could definitely try out there again, if you wanted to. And if you're Steve Austin, like doing that kind of a match is probably, I'm assuming, safe for him. I think it's fun to speculate what another Steve Austin match could look like. Tyler, did you hear this news, number one? And are you up for seeing something again, or just kind of let sleeping dogs lie on that thing?
Yeah, no, I saw it. I thought it was interesting. I saw it more aligned with him versus CM Punk at WrestleMania. It seems to be some sort of dream match trajectory that is being floated across. And, who knows who is putting that forth? Is that CM Punk's camp? Is that Ace Steel, biting people to get that news out there or whatever? But, yeah, I think it's, if he can do it, he can go. I mean, he's only 57, right? It's just crazy to say, right? But we're about to watch Sting wrestle. Jeff Jarrett, right. I think, is of similar age, right? Jericho's 52. Yeah. Just turned that. So, like, if he can do it healthy, I mean, the star power's there. And, him getting in the Rumble, as I think Steve said here, would be fun. And, yeah, just like, he's not going to be world champion or anything, but like if there's more fun to be had in wrestling, then I'm usually an advocate for it. And that's what this would feel like. It would, it's just like if The Rock came at the same time. If you had The Rock and Stone Cold on the same WrestleMania, like, hey,
that'd be pretty cool.
Be good for the channel, and it would be good for, wrestling in general. It might be a good opportunity to get, hey, if Cody Rhodes and Roman and whoever else we're talking about, like, can get seen for the first time. And even if you get a million new fans and you only retain 100,000 of them, that's 100,000 more people watching wrestling, which is good for everybody in the industry. So yeah, I'm bullish on it.
I'm too. I think the last one was fun, and I think you can even get a little more out of it this time because it was, the last one was booked and promoted as Steve Austin on the KO show, right? And then it turned into a match. Like, I think you can go, seeing how that played out, you can take it more a match route. The CM, if they can do CM Punk against Steve Austin like in 2023, I think you green light that thing for sure. But I also think if you get Steve Austin, like, man, you probably want to think about doing Brock Lesnar. Brock is huge, but I also think he's known as one of the more safer workers too at the same time. And that's big money. I mean, that's a money match. And I think like you've done kind of the toe dip with Austin. And so it's like, okay, now if we're going to bring him back, part of me would just be like, let's just do something huge, let's do Brock and Austin or something, or I don't know. I don't want to see Goldberg versus Austin, I guess, but that's I guess you could make an argument there. I think I'd pull the trigger on something big like that. Who would you want to see him come back and wrestle? Fantasy book this shit.
Yeah, I mean, and these always have diminishing returns, right? So the fifth time Stone Cold wrestles on this new contract, if it does happen, is going to be a little less special than the first time he wrestles, right? So you got to put that into there. So I mean, I haven't thought about that much. I mean, it depends what you do with Roman, right? If Roman's the champion, you do Roman
at
SummerSlam, or if Roman loses and then he wants to kick Steve Austin's ass because he's pissed about losing. Like, I think that's like a funny match for both of them, right? And then either could win, right? And that makes it a little bit, if Stone Cold is going against Roman and Roman's got the belt, like, I don't think they're going to end the streak to Stone Cold. Like, that would be a disaster from a booking standpoint.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
If he drops it and then he's going on to like his legend status and they're fighting for legacy and all that stuff, like, that is juicy all the way around to me. But yeah,
Austin Brock, and Heyman on promos would be pretty great.
I mean, depends where Cody is. I think Cody and Austin could have tell a really good story leading up to it, and they both want to take about the same level of bumps, it seems like. So, from as Cody's talked about, doing side bumps now. But yeah, I think that would be good too. And I just think
Cena.
Yeah. I mean, any sort of legend you can think of. I'm more pro getting someone that's on the roster all the time over in like the Kevin Owens situation was. If Sammy is not doing, I guess that you'd have to build up Sammy pretty good there. But, just anyone that you think can be a top guy for a 6-month stretch, having them against Austin at some point would be good. Austin versus Austin, maybe. We'll see it.
Austin versus Austin. Fun to think about. I think the more that you look at this WrestleMania card, they got a lot of, like, if Austin's going to be back, and Rock's coming in, and Ronda's there, you've got a lot of, like, you got some potential big talent on that show. So yeah, interesting little news tidbit.
I can't believe we got an Austin Idol on our show. I think we've made it.
Oh God, we need to log off immediately.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
saying. Before this gets out of hand.
Go deep into the Austin talk if we're getting into Austin.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys in the chat are just hilarious, absolutely hilarious. All right, we'll wrap things up. We'll wrap things up there. A blast. This is good, Tyler. Thanks. Big weekend. We got you covered at PWTorch.com. We'll have a handful of different preview columns on the show. I'll have a VIP show up previewing Full Gear as well. So, keep it locked. PWTorch.com. Go VIP. PWTorch.com/go VIP for the roundtable. And also keep it locked to Twitter at PWTorch. Once we finalize our Full Gear plans, we will let everybody know then. And yeah, it should be a fun should be a fun weekend. But to everybody who joined us today, Dr. Ross, Zach, Steve, Tracy, Azan, and everybody else, thank you very much. Tyler, appreciate it, man. Enjoy your Full Gear weekend, my friend.
Thank you. You too.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Catch you down the road.